All right, how's it going? I am Garrett O'Brien, your host on Rewired the Show. I'm coming to you live here from Heritage Theater, Gizzy's Eatery here in Dewey, Oklahoma. Um, there's a few things that I wanted to talk to you guys about tonight. One of them is going to be holding on to hope. Holding on to hope is kind of a big deal. The reason why is because hope is that feeling of trust. Hope is that feeling of expectation and desire for a certain thing to happen. And when that one thing doesn't happen, or your trust is broken, we tend to start to lose hope in whatever it is, relationships, friendships, you name it, it could happen. Um, One of the things that I want to talk about when it comes to holding on to hope is never giving up. Um, because if you give up on that one time, that could be the time that somebody is looking at you and saying, this is the chance. This is what, that's what I was looking for. But if you've given up, then who's to say that person may have moved on or completely destroyed the friendship or just completely walked out. Um, there's been a few instances in my own life where I've given up on hope and realized after the fact that, had I just held out just a little bit longer, something would have spiked in, something would have came in. Um, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. Right now, I'm in a place of holding. Um, is speaking of my last live sessions that I've been talking about, my marriage and my kids and stuff like that, and how some of the things, aren't really working out right now. And, that has a lot to do with the other person as well. But, the thing is while I sit here and wait on the other person, I'm just not going to sit here and just sit back. And you know what? A piece of scripture that always comes to me is Exodus 14:14, and is that the Lord will fight for you, just be still. And what he's talking about in just being still is exactly holding on to that hope. Fighting to stay on top, fighting every single day to get up, get out of bed, and just hold on just one little ounce. As I said before, this is a faith-based organization. This is a faith-based live stream, and without my faith, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And one thing that I need to reiterate is you need to know when to fight. What do I mean by needing to know, when to fight? There's times where you're going to be sitting there and you're going to have an opportunity to do something. Now, depending upon where you're at mentally, depending upon where you're at physically and psychologically, depends upon how you need to fight. What do I mean by fight? What I mean is not giving up and pushing through the pain, pushing through all of that stuff. One of the things that gets me through all of this is not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow. That is a huge thing because tomorrow is not promised. Anywhere you look, anywhere, and tomorrow is not promised. But just to wake up another day and think about the possibilities of something happening during that day, it's huge. Think about it. You go to bed not realizing that, not even thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow. And, some people go to bed and they have, all these worries and all this stuff, on their mind, what they're thinking about tomorrow. But the thing is we can't control, what's going to happen, first thing in the morning, right when we wake up. We can't control the little things. We can't control the big things. And, the only thing we can control in that is how we react, how we respond, and how we push through whatever it is that we're going through. That's why I say when you know when to fight, you will know. When you're sitting there, I don't know how many of you are followers of Christ and how many of you are non-believers or whatnot. And, to me, that's not important. What is important is not giving up. Of course, I would love for everyone to fall in and follow Christ, but not everybody has the same belief, and I understand that. And by no means am I pushing my belief on any of you guys. So please don't think that. One of the things that have gotten me through a lot of the pain, a lot of the hurt, that I talked about on my first show, was taking myself out of the equation, putting that trust in God. When I put my trust in God, it doesn't mean the pain goes away. I still feel that pain daily. Even today, I deal with the stuff that has been going on in my life. But when it comes to that, comes to the trust, comes to the expectation and desire, I have to give up control for that. Because with that being said, is that it's really rough getting through a lot of things and trying to control every little aspect in your life. That it's just it comes to be a point to where it's very overwhelming. And if I stop during when I'm talking, it's because someone in my chat said what's up. So what's up, Chris? Hope you're doing all right, man. Last 5 minutes of my show, I'm gonna go ahead and do Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, you can just pop in the chat, ask me a few questions, and I'll try to answer them the best of my knowledge. But the second thing I want to move on to when it comes to holding on to hope is knowing when to fight. Knowing when to fight, actually knowing how to fight. Sorry about that. I got my notes here and my handwriting is like chicken scratch. But knowing how to fight. From my personal perspective, knowing how to fight, I've used scripture, I've used prayer, I've used, lots of things. But for some of you guys, faith not being your background, you got to tie into the community. That's one thing that will get you out of your that'll help lift you out of depression. How do you lift out of isolation and stuff like that? Is getting out, spending time with the community, spending time with your friends, just going out and meeting new people. Just the other day I went down to Tulsa, and it's a place right outside of Tulsa. It's called Owasso, and I just went to go shop at Kohl's, and while I was at Kohl's, I was sitting there, and I was probably upset a little bit, and just dealing with stuff, and I just the person behind the counter was not looking like they were having a good day, and I smiled and I said, "Hey, how you doing today?" It's just simple little gesture, and the person's like, "It's almost time to close, blah blah blah," And I was like, yeah, you could be without a job, you could be somewhere else, you could be at home doing nothing right now, and instead of lining your pockets with money. And they're like, yeah, I never really looked at it that way, and that's a good way to look at it. And that's one of the things with knowing how to fight, is changing your perspective. Just like when I told you the first day of my show, I went to tie up my horse, or one of the horses that I was taking care of at the ranch, and this locust was right there, right in the beginning, right where I tied this horse up. And I'm like, I've done my research on locusts and done my biblical research and stuff like that, and I was like, man, a locust is a sign of destruction. So I was freaking out. I was going. I was like, what's going to happen? Is something going to happen to this horse? something gonna happen to me? Something gonna happen to this ranch? What is going on? So I sat in prayer for about an hour. About 2 hours later, what came to me was destruction of old self. That was huge for me. That's just a shift in my perspective right there. And that's one huge way of knowing how to fight, to hold on to hope. It is just, looking at something from a different viewpoint. Take yourself out of yourself for a second, and just look at it a different way. And this kind of leads me to another point that I want to hit, is putting your trust in something that's bigger than you. This is a very hard thing to do, because what you're doing is you're giving up control of what you're dealing with, and you're giving it to something else. Giving it to a higher power, giving it to whatever. And giving up control, that's a big step. It's a huge step, because you're admitting that I can't do this on my own. I can't deal with these feelings. I can't deal with this pressure. I just can't seem to go on. And that's why putting the trust in something bigger than you, it's pivotal. It's pivotal when it comes to growth, because when you're in that time of suffering, that's when growth comes. When you suffer, comes growth. With growth, comes new character, and it builds you up to be a better person. Especially with everything going on. Hey, how's it going? Hope you're doing good. So, putting trust in something that's bigger than you is a huge thing to do, because, like I said, you're giving up control. You're giving up all control. And for those of us who have control problems, right? It's a hard thing to do. So, one of the things that I do to, just give up control is trying not to worry about what the other person is doing, because that will drive you in itself crazy. It was, for me, it just kind of clicked in. It was just like one of those, bam, it happened, and then that was it. I started seeing things a different way. Some of you may look at it and be like, I'm not ready to give up control yet, and that's perfectly fine. I'm nobody's forcing you to heal. Nobody's forcing you to do something you don't want to do. But just take what I say as, steps in your walk to get through whatever it is you're getting through. And, especially when it comes to hope, hope is a lot bigger than we think it is. Literally the definition of hope is a feeling of expectation and desire for a certain thing to happen. And, a feeling of trust. That's, if you got trust issues, I'm pretty sure your hope's a little shaky. And, that's okay, because we all process stuff differently. We all go through things differently. And, we just deal with a lot of things that we think that nobody else can handle, so we take them on ourselves. So, hey, how's it going, Mom? Appreciate you coming in. So, Mom's always there supporting, so, I got to say what's up to Mom. But, it's just putting your trust in something bigger than you. Where I put my trust in God. And it's a lot harder. It's a lot easier to say than do. I could tell you from experience. But it can be done. It's just that it's a matter of giving up control. And if you're great at giving up control, awesome. You're one step ahead. But if you have trouble just, letting go of certain things, just like I talked about last week when Kevin Doncaster was here with me with Warhawk, letting go is one of the hardest things to do, because a lot of us don't know how to let go. And it's the same thing. A lot of us don't know how to put trust in God, or put trust in whatever it is that you look at or look toward. And that's all right. It's one step out of the way, and that's why it's important to get out. That's why it's important to hang out with, your friends, family, getting out of the house, even going somewhere by yourself, go to like the zoo, or if you're by the beach, go sit at the beach for an hour, 2 hours, just watch the waves and just take it all in. There's something about being in nature when you're struggling. I can't even think of the word, but it heals. It's huge. So this kind of leads me to another point that I want to discuss, and it's how to pull yourself up, especially when you're down. Because 9 times out of 10, if you're depressed, when I say depression, I'm talking about clinical depression, I'm talking about circumstantial depression, I'm talking about everything. Everything that you're dealing with that brings you to a point to where you don't even want to get out of bed in the morning. This is what I'm talking about, how to pull yourself up. One big way to pull yourself up is, like I just said, getting out, forcing yourself, literally picking yourself up out of bed and getting yourself out there, literally picking up one leg at a time, and it can be that stressful and that heavy, that it just, you don't want to move anywhere. And believe me, I've been there a lot. I'm still there. Some days that, I'm having to pull myself up to just get out and put a smile on my face. And even though it's not a real smile, just show people that, look, I'm still here, I'm alive and kicking, and I'm not going to give up on this. So, another way you can pull yourself out is, if you go to church and you have, friends in church and whatnot, just going to church one day, just going and sitting and listening to the word, that will help you. I wasn't a real big believer. I'm just gonna go off to a side tangent here because, I feel that I need to explain, why faith is important to me, especially when it comes to hope. Faith is very important to me because I've been in situations to where things have happened that's been unexplainable. I'm talking about, being in Afghanistan. I'm talking about being in Iraq. I'm talking about, attempting suicide. And, I just want to tell you one instance I had where I attempted suicide, which was about 6 months ago. I took a knife. I'm going to be a little detailed on this because there's no other way to explain it. God was there. I took a knife out, just sharpened it. I was at a point, and I know some of y'all can relate with me, when, the pain is just so heavy that you can't do anything, that you just want the pain to stop, and even cutting yourself doesn't make the pain stop. So, I was at this point about 6 months ago, actually a little bit more than that. It was about 7-8 months ago, when I was still living in Texas. And, I just got done, listening to something that, I probably shouldn't have listened to, like a voicemail from my wife. This was, 6 months after we separated. And, dealing with the whole kids thing, and, literally the day before, my daughter telling me that she wished I died in Afghanistan. That was pretty impactful. So, I was sitting here on my couch and had a knife, and I just finally said, I can't do this anymore. Took that knife and ran it up my arm. Literally just stabbed it in there and ran it up. I didn't feel nothing. I looked down, and literally there was nothing there. No cut, no scrape, nothing. That was the last attempt that I tried. and that was the probably the 100th, 200th time God said, "Not today." Um, I can't explain some of these things. Some of these things just seem unreal. But it's unless you've lived it, unless you've been through it, you really won't understand, and that's okay. That's why I'm out here doing what I need to do. Holding on to hope, holding on to hope. Showing y'all that look, I've been through hell and back as well. And I'm here. It sucks, but we all deal with something differently. We all process differently, and any way I can help to get this out and get you guys, knowing what's going on, as far as when it comes to PTSD or depression or anxiety or child abuse or anything you've been through. I mean, this is all relevant for that. So, tying back into how can you pull yourself up, especially from a point where I was at. I'm telling you right now, that one friend that I had in Texas was what helped me out. I'm not going to mention his name, but one question he asked me when we were sitting there talking, he's like, "Dude, I can't. I never deployed when I was in the military, and I have no room to. I don't even know what to say." And I was like, to be honest, I don't need you to say anything. You're doing exactly what I need you to do, and that's just listen. Sometimes that's all we need. Sometimes all we just need is someone to just sit there and listen, not try to fix your problems, not try to add in any kind of information or advice. Just sit there and just let it all out. I was thankful enough to have, I am so thankful to have my buddy in Texas to sit there and just let me just spew all of my stuff out. And, a little tearing up a little bit because, it's still, it all still affects me. But the difference between then and now is I've learned ways to move forward, to pull myself up. And because we can't really rely on anybody else to help us out. Because, I'm not going to lie, when this whole thing went down with my wife and I about a year and 7 months ago, I lost about 40 friends. A lot of the friends were friends of hers, and I'm not holding any grudges or anything like that, and you can only go off of the information you're given. And some of these friends, I was trying to find someone to talk to, and none of them wanted to hear it. It was, I understand, they have stuff of their own, but in a friendship, it's the same thing with a relationship. It's you give and you take. It's got to be 50-50. And if the friendships that you have are they come to you with all their problems and you sit there and listen, but if you go to them with some of your stuff and they want nothing to do with it, you got to reevaluate your friendships, because that's not what a friend is. A friend is there unconditionally. I mean, you can find good people. Thankfully, well, I say, being in Oklahoma, I kind of, didn't expect to find the group that I have here. But, my buddy Kevin, who I served with, who was on last week, and I also have, Gizzy, who is also in the military, is also a veteran, and, she's been a huge, uplifting for me, because, she's got this business going, she's got this theater going, she's starting another business, she's got this other stuff going for helping veterans out. And these people were detrimental in my growth. And, it's recognizing that I had to move, that I had to go somewhere other than where I was at to find growth. And that's a big decision to do. I'm not suggesting you just pick up everything and move across, the United States, because that's what I did. And I'm in Oklahoma, so yeah, there's that. Good old California boy from San Diego in Oklahoma. Hey, but you know what? It's all right, because I got friends here that are more than friends; they're family. And that's what you need. You need good friends, um, because that's one way to pull yourself out of it. Last thing I need to talk about before I take a few questions is getting out of your own head. This is the biggest thing that keeps us from going forward and moving forward. The doubt, when you're sitting there, you come up with something and you be like, this show wouldn't even be going on had I listened to the crap that was in my head. Because there was so much doubt, so much fear, so many things telling me I'm going to fail, so many things telling me that, I'm not going to be able to do this. But I pushed through and I'm here doing it. You got to get out of your head. Stop listening to those lies that you're not good enough. Stop listening to those things that other people are saying that, you're just not a good person. Because you know what? Nobody knows you like you, and nobody knows you like God. Identify yourself. Find your fine tweaks. Only you know what's going to make you happy. Only you know what it's going to take to move forward. And if it's really hard, that's probably the right decision. So keep moving forward. Don't give up hope. Learn to trust, because that's where hope comes from. So if anybody has any questions and wants to ask me a few things, I got about 4 minutes left. Go ahead and ask me any questions, and I'll be glad to answer them. So I know it's probably going to take a minute. So I used to stream a video game on Twitch and be sitting there playing, and people would ask questions and whatnot. So I'm kind of used to, watching the chat room and whatnot. So yeah, fire away if you guys have any questions. It doesn't matter. Like I always say in the military, there's no stupid questions, just stupid people. So yeah, I'm just playing. No, but yeah, it's definitely a struggle every day to get up and get going. But I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. Next week I'm gonna talk a little bit more, in depth about the stuff like that. So Chris, you asked me what have I been doing since I've seen you. Well, I moved to Texas. Went to school. Actually transferred from San Bernardino Art Institute to Dallas Art Institute. And let me tell you, man, it's definitely culture shock. One of my teachers was actively working for Disney, actively doing things, and I mean, courses were a lot harder. I actually dropped school in the midst of marriage problems, and I got a job doing cabinet work and stuff like that, and that wasn't working out. And then finally I made it to my rock bottom, and my buddy Kevin, who I deployed with, or actually I met during my last deployment in Afghanistan, saw some of my Facebook posts, and he's like, dude, I'm worried about you. You need to come up here and get in this program. So I came up to Oklahoma and started doing an equestrian therapy program. Been there for 6 months. And let me tell you, man, equestrian therapy, that will kick your butt. And I can tell you in the past 6 months, I've identified who I am, what I'm supposed to be doing, who I am in Christ. I mean, it's just, no words, man. It's just, I'm doing amazing, man. And I hope you're doing well too. So I love you too, Mom. I know you're kind of biased, but that's all right. I'll take it. So, but I got about 1 minute left. I just started a Twitter account, so go ahead and follow my Twitter. It's called Rewired the Show. Follow that. Follow my Instagram. Believe me, I want to come back to California, but it's just too darn expensive. Besides, there's too many horses out here and mosquitoes that need killing. So, but yeah, no, I appreciate you guys, coming on and give me support, and we just take it one day at a time. Don't give up, and just keep pushing forward. You guys can do it. It's hard to do, but you guys can do it. All right. So I'm going to get out of here. I love you guys. I'll see y'all next week. All right. Y'all take it easy.